On the tiny island of Tequila, which is home to about 1,300 people, a man's worth is not measured by his ability to make money or even by his ability to hunt and fish, but rather by his ability to knit. Alejandro Flores Wata was born on the island located in Lake Titicaca, a large lake between Peru and Bolivia. The island is about a 3-hour trip by boat from the nearest city. The 67-year-old started learning how to knit tall and floppy traditional hats called chuyos in his early childhood, with his older brother and grandfather teaching him by using the thorns of a cactus as knitting needles. Most of the boys learn by watching. Because I don't have a father, my older brother and grandfather taught me to knit. So, by watching them, I learned little by little, he said. In addition to the chuyos, Tequila is famous for its wool and clothing. However, while the women weave clothing and belts and care for the sheep that provide the wool, it is only the men who produce the island's famous knitted hats. The chuyos are seen as having deep cultural importance, playing a key role in protecting the island's social structure and allowing men to show their creativity while also displaying their marital status, dreams, and personalities. The islanders are working hard to preserve this tradition. Residents were relatively cut off from the mainland until the 1950s, and Tequil's isolation has helped to keep much of its cultural heritage and way of life intact. Locals live according to the Inca moral code of Ama Sua, Ama Lula, Ama Killa. Do not steal, do not lie, do not be lazy. Tequileans still use traditional farming methods. The island communities rotate crops of potatoes, corn, beans, and barley in terraces on the mountainsides. They raise sheep, chickens, and pigs on the land and catch fish in the surrounding waters of Lake Titicaca. Tequilean boys are taught to knit from the age of 5 or 6. The first chuyo a boy knits is white, though he later learns to use sheep wool, dyed with local plants and minerals. His technique is refined until he is able to make a hat that is tightly woven and neat. It is a difficult and slow process. Even the most experienced knitters on the island need almost a month to complete the task due to the intricate patterns reflecting agricultural, seasonal, and familial symbols that must be carefully woven into it. The chuyos also play a key role in pairing young couples for marriage. Men are chosen by their future mates and their families based on their ability to skillfully knit a chuyo with tiny wire-thin needles. According to Alejandro, the sign of a good partner is the ability to make one that is knitted so tightly and neatly that it can hold water for a long time when turned upside down. Future fathers-in-law often test the chuyos of their daughters' potential husbands. Alejandro proudly explained that his could hold water for 30 minutes without losing a single drop, and was impressive enough to attract his wife Teodosia 44 years ago. Apparently she saw my knitting skill in my chuyo. I used to make a really good one. I was an excellent knitter, he said. The girls look for the best chuyo. So, if you're wearing a really nice one, you're likely to get a girlfriend more easily and faster, added his friend Juan, explaining that it's a community event when a future father-in-law checks the knitting skill of a potential husband for his daughter. The father-in-law pours the water into the chuyo, and the young man has to show it to everyone gathered there. All the family members must be able to see the water in the hat, he said. Despite its strong cultural traditions, to many outsiders, Tequilean culture appears to be surprisingly open-minded. For example, Alejandro and his wife are both considered authorities on the island and share decision-making responsibilities. We are both in charge. We always work together, and we make decisions together, Teodosia said. A man cannot be a good leader alone. He always needs his wife. Even in ancient times it was like that. Nowadays, many men have started to use bicycle spokes as knitting needles. We find and use them because they are easier than cactus thorns to knit with. They are thin and they don't break easily, Alejandro said. However, for Alejandro, Juan, and the other knitting men of Tequila, recent changes they have been experiencing on the island of Tequila make it even more important to protect their culture and traditions. Both men have already passed on their knitting skills to their sons. We have lots of knowledge from our ancestors, and I need to help younger generations understand that this must be always in our minds, in our consciousness, because that's knowledge and wisdom that must not be lost or forgotten, ever, Juan said. We Tequilians understand that, as the world is getting smaller, change is coming, and we need to accept it, but without forgetting our background. As my grandpa said, a man who can't knit is not a man.